Hello everyone, welcome to another game with me. So we're up against another Zerg player here. Alright, okay. So there comes a point in every young Terran player's life where you just feel like creep spread is a problem, and you devote everything to denying the creep spread. Now, eventually you get over this little fixation, and you enjoy the finer things in life, such as roasting drones, or perhaps getting a third CC up really early, maybe getting out of bronze leagues, that sort of stuff. But for me, personally, I am not over this little fixation. I don't like creep spread. I hate creep spread. So much that I want to see it burn. I really, really want to see it burn. Hellions don't deny creep spread well enough, so I normally go for Marines because they do a better job at just killing off the creep spread. And for other people that don't really like creep spread, this method that I'm going to show you is another nice way of just getting a leg up on your opponent with that. So already we're going to be scouting. Our opponent sees us, nothing too telling. Right, so 3rd CC is up. Now we're going to be scouting with a Marine as usual, and there's really two ways of opening gasless style for us, like a 1-rax gasless style. There's the first one, which you have seen already, the bunker and maybe a couple supply depots to mess up the AI. And there's a second wall, which I do this game. Right, so we see him with a normal expansion. Catch me if you can. Right, so the second way is to wall off with a couple of raxes. Now, if you ever plan on doing that, there's two ways of doing it. You can either wall off to the command center, to the nearest point, whatever, which is what I do, or you can just wall off on the ramp. Depending on the map, you will do different things, depending on the map, of course. Right, so I found that when you tend to wall off, it doesn't matter if you wall off the one way or another, really doesn't matter, you tend to have a lot of Marines, especially early on. You would have way more Marines than what you would normally have. And you're normally safe against, well, you're safe against, well, the roaches will give you problems. The banelings aren't really possible until, like, way later. Speedlings don't really do anything. If ever you counter roaches, just heal up the wall. Just repair the wall until you have enough Marines. Just because with me, I'm going for 5 rack style. So you have a lot, and I mean a lot of Marines. And the nice thing about going for a 5 rack style is that you have enough to push out. Now, there's a couple things I have to mention. Right? Your opponent will normally have a baneling nest started around 7:30-ish. The baneling nest finishes around 8:30 to 8:30, and then give a couple 30 seconds just to morph into banelings. So what you want to do here is deny the creep spread. Your opponent can have banelings, okay? You just can't. Unless it's going for a baneling bust, then that's kind of easy to tell. So what you want to do here is deny the creep spread. Since our opponent doesn't have creep spread, that's kind of telling of what he likes to do, right? The more the creep spread, the more he plans on going for an economic style, just a macro style. If he doesn't have any creep spread, he's going for an all-in. And if your opponent doesn't have that much for an army, you can engage, it's fine. But as a general rule, you don't want to engage. The main purpose of this push here is to deny the creep spread, or in this case, take out whatever your opponent has for some army units, but the real push comes at around 9 when the combat shield is done, and from here you can do a lot of damage. Now, since our opponent, well, since we forced a lot of our opponent, and he, well, we interrupted his +1, he's going to be going for an all-in here, and if you see your opponent gearing up for lots of units, you don't necessarily need to push, you don't necessarily need to do damage, because essentially your damage is done. You forced him into a really uncomfortable position where he's going to be going for an all-in, and well, behind this, right, so behind this we have lots on the way. We have +1/+1, we have a 3rd CC, combat shield is done, we have stim being researched, we have lots of stuff. And our opponent, since he doesn't see us coming, he's going to just go for an all-in because he's kind of frustrated with my playstyle, which is completely understandable. I mean, this style is very good at just forcing our opponent to overreact and taking out creep spread, of course, which I've mentioned before. If your opponent doesn't have creep spread, feel free to do a bit of damage to the drone line, whatever, that's fine. Right, so as a general rule, if you tend to wall off like this, you generally want a second type of wall off, just with depots, just so that the baneling all in here doesn't do that much. And our opponent, of course, can't get through here because we're walled off with the barracks. I don't mind sacrificing a couple SCVs just so that, well, our opponent loses more stuff. Let's see, the Baneling count is already 6. Our opponent has already done as much damage as he could have. Takes out a lot of SCVs, a lot of our workers, but doesn't really deal with our army. And already, our opponent is already in a lot of trouble because +1/+1 is done. Stim is pretty much done. There's a couple of seconds left. We have a third CC. We have a starport. We have medevacs. We have lots of stuff. Yeah, so the game's pretty much over because he knows he can't handle me. Right, so if you ever try to play this style, just know that if you're pushing out with my type of marine push here, your opponent can't really have banelings, right? Like the earliest baneling nest I've ever seen was from a 2-base type of baneling bust, which the baneling nest was up at around, I think it was 615. Started at 615, finished at 715. So our push normally goes around 7, so your opponent is going to have banelings. If he's going for that type of 2-base all-in, the banelings you need a good 20 seconds. So the banelings earliest possible will be 7:30 and 7:40-ish. And our push arrives around on the creep around 7:30. So if you see the banelings getting morphed in, you can just leave. And we've already done enough damage just by forcing units. Another thing, another precursor, if you want to use this style, just know that your economy will be a little bit delayed, a little bit suffering, just because, of course, you want scans to get rid of the creep spread. So, of course, you're not going to have the mules, so it does stall a little bit. But other than that, if you keep that in mind, you should be good. So I hope you guys liked it. Hope it was informative. Have a great weekend, guys, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye for now.